Let's get the party started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this workshop by District 51, where we are going to be talking today about the essential duties of speech contest officials. So here we'll be talking about some of the role players that are very keen or very key in making sure a contest is going to be successful. I just want to put a disclaimer that this is not a judging workshop. It's not a panel that's going to be focusing on how to judge or effective judging. There is other similar workshops that's being done by the district in those areas. But as of for today, what we would like to be focusing on is some of the other role players that we see. For example, ballot counters, timers, contest Toastmasters, SAA, photographers. We're going to be discussing with a very diverse panel, and I believe all of them are excited to share with us some of the insights that they have throughout their experience and how they are able to then bring that to light. And I hope that inspires you. So let's get started. I'm going to first of all introduce the panelists that I have for tonight with me. And after we introduce them, I'll get them to share a little bit of any inspiration or any specific thing they want to say. But let's get them introduced first. Our first panelist tonight, in no particular order, by the way, I'm just looking at my notes, in no particular order. Actually, the actual order is whoever responded very fast. So here we know who responded the fastest to me. The first panelist I would like to introduce is Carmen. So Carmen, who is here tonight, he's been in Toastmasters for 10 years already. And he has taken all the roles, all contest roles that he has played. And he has also been the district level contest Toastmaster for evaluation contest and notably the CJ for division level contest. So those are the things that he has already done in his 10 years of experience so far. And of course, moving into the next bit, I asked all panelists tonight to share with me one horror story or something that just did not go well or didn't go as per the plan in any of the contests that they have been. And Carmen shared with us that in a particular contest, the wrong winners were announced. So Carmen, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to explain to us about this horror incident that you had and what were some of the key learnings that you got from that event. Carmen.
All right, thank you, Dinesh. Unfortunately, my laptop is also updating right now, so I'm using my phone temporary, but I'll
I
join in
think it's a
via.
Windows thing. I think it's a today problem. Let's blame it on that.
I don't know. Okay, so it was an experience that happened in a club contest where what happened was one of my club members, he was a new member. He participated in the contest as a role player, which is a tally counter or a ballot counter. And he was noticing that the chief judge was the way the person was tallying the contest results. Usually, when we are tallying the contest, we only tally the results of the voting judges, and we do not take into consideration the tiebreaker judge vote. The tiebreaker judge vote is only used to break a tie if there is a certain when there's a tally votes are the same. So what happened was the chief judge, who is also kind of new, use the tiebreakers vote to be included in the tally counting. So the results were wrong. And because my member was new that time, he or she did not raise up when the results were announced. And he probably told me because he felt that something was wrong during the tally counting process. So so ended up, since the results were announced already, there's no changes that can be made already, even though there is an incorrect method in the procedure. So what I want to say is that as role players in a contest, one thing that I've learned throughout my experience in playing roles and contests is that we have to be fair to our contestants. Our role is to create a fair and equal playing field so that the contestants can have a fair and fulfilling contest as well. So it is important that if you don't know something about how it needs to be done, you have to ask questions from or refer to the contest rulebook. And also, if let's say you felt that something is wrong, for example, let's say the contest Toastmasters announce the results wrongly. If you're playing a role as a timer or a tally counter, it's important to raise it up to mention that there is error in the contest results announcement so that at least people would know what was going to happen and also to avoid announcing the wrong results. because only the role players would know what are the exact results. A timer would know the results of a timer, but they would not know the tally counting process. So it's important that as role players, we have to play our roles really well and really voice out if there's any issues going on in the contest. So that's what I've learned today. Thank you, and back to you, Dinesh.
All right, thanks, Carmen. There were some key learnings that we can take from this, right? Number one, the rule book, the contest rule book must always be, it takes precedence over anything and everything. If someone says something, your contest rule book has always need to be making sure that your contest rule book is there for you to refer to. So that's the first learning. And of course, even when you're using the contest rule book, please make sure that you're using the latest version of the contest rulebook that has the most recent World Championship of Public Speaking phase on it, because there were times that I've seen some chief judges carrying an outdated version of the rulebook. That should not be the way. And of course, another thing that Carmen mentioned, which is also very, very true, is that in a contest, you see, as role players, our role will probably be only during the day of the contest, right? We probably go for the contest, spend 1-2 hours, play our role, and then we go back home. Be it judges, ballot counters, contest toastmaster, anyone. But the contestant would have put in so much of energy, so much of time preparing for their contest. So it is indeed very, very important that we be very fair to them and give the best experience. So thanks for that, Carmen. Next up, we'll go to Lai Kok Fu, who's been in Toastmasters for 5 years. So that's half the time of Carmen. And he's played all the contest roles as well. He's been a district level contest Toastmaster for humorous speech competition, and he's also played the role of chief judge at a division level. He has held the role of district deputy contest chair 2023-2024 for District 87. And when I asked him for his contest nightmare or something that didn't go well that we can all learn from, he said in a specific contest, there was an argument between the chief judge and the contest chair, and then they had to do some resolution. So it sounded very interesting and a little serious. So, Lai Kok Fu, would you like to bring us through what exactly happened and some of the key learnings that you think we can all learn from your incident?
Thank you, Dinesh. That happened in another district contest, actually. At that time, I was serving as a judge. And from what I remember, the contest chair is quite new and was handling the division contest as the contest chair, while the chief judge is an experienced person. And that district has some different protocol in running a contest where they have an added role players for the contest. In where the contest chair didn't brief properly about the role players, and some of the contestants, they were confused throughout the contest. And the chief judge stepped in to help briefing. In halfway through the briefing, the contest chair suddenly jumped in again to say, Chief Judge, you should not do this. I don't think you did it right. It's slowly, just the small words, it become a heated argument. And the next thing, the division director jumped in to see the situation where the division director couldn't solve the matter. And they called the trio to come in, CGD, PQD, DD there, to see what is wrong, where they put all together in the discussion room, where all the judges and the contestant were just put them there, just waiting there, click all the way. And after that, if I remember correctly, the PQD come in, jumps up from the breakout room, say, the contest is cancelled. And then that's the thing to say. It left us what happened? What is happening actually? Then when they cancel the contest, the PQD text say in the group, they decide to cancel the contest as they say, I am overpowering the contest chair in the briefing, where because of some briefing that the contest chair didn't do properly. In that kind of situation where I feel that in the division contest, both the contest chair and the chief judge must have certain level of understanding the contest in the level they're doing. There are some rules that are different, from area and club level that even the division level is different. So it's best to have experienced contest chair and chief judge in the division level compared to what they'll have in club and area. As at that point, the mistake must be minimized as much as possible. That's I noticed. Back to you, Dinesh.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much for sharing that. I used to think I have experienced a lot of interesting elements when it comes to contests. I've not experienced anything of that sort. I just want to once again reiterate, right? It really, 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 I can't emphasize this enough. The rulebook is extremely important. And as so long a contest is going on, it's very important for the contest chair to be able to manage the contest and take a call that is going to be relevant to the contest in line with the rule book. So for those of you who are here when you are playing a role in the contest rule, for any contest that you're playing a role at, the two golden rules I always share and always tell everyone is number one, as much as possible, read the rule book, understand in and out what the rule book says about your role, so you're familiar with all the proceedings. And number two, if you have the time, if you have the time and energy to before your actual contest, do try to also go and witness how some other contest is done, and also be active in taking part in also role playing and other contests, which will give you a little bit of experience. So when it comes to your contest, you're able to handle anything that comes your way, or it gives you that exposure that you need. But I think thank you so much for sharing that. I sincerely hope anything similar of that nature does not happen, because it's not going to be fair for anyone in place as well. So let's all hope and strive to make sure that our contest is going to be one of good quality and be able to do everything as per the rulebook. Last but not least, we have the rose among the thorns, my third panelist, Hui Ying, who's been in Toastmasters for 5.5 years now. She's now the club growth director for District 51. She has taken all the roles. She's played all these roles. She's of a contest. She's also been a CJ at division level. And also she has, as a CJD, when she went for the World Championship of Public Speaking, she was also able to witness how the WCPS semifinals was done. So I think that also gives that exposure to her. And now, when I asked her for her horror story, Ho Ying had the most non-horror horror story, because I think her horror story was relatively not that horror. And I think we can all probably relate, empathize, or handle that kind of horror, where Ho Ying said the contest that she went to, the contest chef forgot to print all the forms. So there was no forms to begin with, I'm assuming. So maybe Ho Ying, would you like to walk us through that, and what are some key learnings that we can all take from that experience?
Thank you, Dinesh. I think for me, that is indeed a horror, because at that point of time, being served in many of the roles, I always see that forms are all being provided. So what happened was I was not the CJ during that contest, the chief judge during that contest. I'm one of the voting judge during this contest. So what happened was the chief judge was telling us, oh my God, the contest chair forgot to print out all the form. And that for me is like, then how on earth are we supposed to, to fill up the ballots, and also for the ballot counters to do the tally, and also for the timers to record the timing. So for me, that is essentially very, very important, because what happened is all the forms, because now, even though, yes, we are transitioning from, during that point of time, from all the online contest to a physical contest, but everyone was so used to doing everything electronically. But I guess what is really important is that for me is like, can you imagine half an hour or maybe 1 hour before the contest start, as you don't have any of the forms ready? So what are you going to do? Of course, there will be a plan B, but what happens if there's even no papers for people to write on? Thankfully, because we have experienced members that are serving on the panel of judges. So what happened here is we were just contributing if we have any extra forms that we have from all the previous contests, and then just use it to support that particular contest. And the lesson that I've learned during that contest itself, which I am keeping that until now, whenever I'm taught to serve in any role in any of the contests, is I have a folder that I have with me, the latest contest rulebook, and all the contest form. Every single contest form, including all the ballots form, I have it all in a folder that I will carry with me during each of the contests I attended. So that is the lesson that I've learned. In case anything happen, no panic. There will always be a backup plan.
Sorry to interrupt. Hui Ying cannot hear you.
Oh, I could hear her. Is it
Dinesh and
just
the hub direct?
I could hear Hui. Carmen, like, could you hear Hui? Can, right? Yeah. Susan, I think there's some issue with your side. Is it? Oh, very
Yeah,
soft.
Very
a bit
soft.
soft.
Yeah, the voice is soft.
Okay. Hui Ying, you want to repeat your last two sentences, perhaps?
Okay. The last two sentences, I think this will be on the lesson learned. Let me just see. I think the audio. Just one here. Okay, testing. Is it much better now? Or is it still very soft?
It's okay for me. I don't find it soft. It's okay for me.
All right, so let's continue. I think the lessons that I have learned from this experience is I prepared a folder that I printed out the latest rulebook, all the forms for the contest, the different type of contest. So in case anything happen, there's always a backup.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much, Hui Ying. I used to be that hardworking long time ago, where I have trust issues. Every time I go for a contest, I bring my own set of forms because sometimes people forget a results formula, notification formula. Sometimes that just happens. But over time, I have decided to just remind the contest chair, hey, you're going to be printing all the forms, right? So if you're printing, then I don't have to worry about. But again, if you're playing the role of contest chair, just once again, make sure that you print all the forms that you need and just to make sure that everything goes well as well. Okay, now let's get into the bigger part of the agenda, which is the questions. And thank God my laptop is back, so I have the proper setting and we're all good to go. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is understanding the role that you're going to be playing. So in a contest, of course, we have a lot of roles, right? We have contest chair, contest Toastmasters who assist the contest chairs, or sometimes they're synonymous. And then we have timers, ballot counters, voting judges, and etc. So we're going to go through the panelists and we're going to ask them, for specific role players, what are some of the things that you can do and how you can prepare for that specific role and what you should expect to do during the day. So we'll start with Lai Kok Fook, and I'm going to talk about, and Lai Kok Fook is going to be telling us about the timer and the ballot counter role. For the timer and ballot counter, if you're appointed as a timer or ballot counter, what are some of the things that you should be prepared for and how you can probably then also make sure that you're fully prepared and you can do your best. So Lai Kok Fook, over to you.
Yeah, when we are playing the role of timer, of course, the most three important thing: pen, the timing sheet, and a timing device to record the timing of the speakers. One thing, and there's one thing is we have to be alert of the time. Don't for playing the timer, it's because when all the marks has been judged, the timing sheet will come in to know are the speaker over time or not. You are the second person to decide if the speaker qualify or not to the next round or even win a contest. As we know that the one thing is to take note of maybe the time difference between both of the timers. Let's say one is overtime 1 second, one is just right on the dot. What can be done that most probably have a discussion with the chief judge what you can do with the timing. The chief judge decide whether to give the advantage because of the 1 second difference. Usually 1 second difference is being discussed. Two, we definitely won't discuss the matter. If let's say one is 7 minutes 30 seconds, one is 7 minutes 31. So the two timers, because there are time difference sometimes when the moment is pressed on the timing device. So that's one thing you to take note of. And like being mentioned by Wayne just now, always prepare to bring your own set of timing sheet if needed to. Be prepared always. That's what I have. That's what one of my advice. Back to you, Dinesh.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much for sharing that, Folk. So essentially in this bit, if I remember correctly from what the rulebook always says, you have two timers and the timers are appointed by the chief judge. So the role of the two timers is actually very clear. One of the timer will be with the stopwatch and another timer will be playing with the signaling device, either the green, yellow, red, the device that you're going to be using to make sure that you're signaling to the contestants, right? So as per what the rulebook says, or I know the best practice is, the timer that records the stopwatch will be the one that writes down the time. I usually discourage heavily for there to be two timer sheets, exactly because I don't want to deal with this dilemma. If one timer tells me 7:30, one timer tells me 7:31, I will not want to go down that route. So what I think best practice that I will encourage everyone to do is, if you're the timer, just make sure that you have one timer that is recording the clock and the second timer that's playing with the timing device. If the second timer will have a backup stopwatch or a backup phone, that is fine, but we do not refer to the second timer unless the first timer stopwatch or anything failed, which should not be the case. So that's the first thing. Thanks for bringing that up, folks. Really, there's only one timer that records the timing as per the rule book. Now, the second thing is, for best practice, I would also want to encourage everyone. Most of the times, we are very often using handphones, right, to do stopwatch, because rarely I see the proper stopwatch in contests, and I think that's fine. If you're using a handphone, for the love of God, please put it on flight mode, or please put it on do not disturb. Put it on a mode where no calls come in, nothing is going to come in and interrupt your timing. So you need to be very focused. I realize sometimes we overlook this bit. And again, if anything goes wrong, it will be something that will cause damage. So it could cause damage to the contest as well. So make sure, ideally, use the stopwatch, the physical stopwatch. If you can't find the physical stopwatch, and if you're using a handphone, my rule is really put that on flight mode so no calls come in or nothing comes in to interrupt that. So thank you so much, for sharing that. And of course, if you're a ballot counter, some of the best practice I always say is make sure the ballots are collected discreetly. As you know, the judge's identity is discreet. So make sure when you're collecting the ballots, you collect it discreetly. And then during the ballot counting, pay very close attention to how the chief judge is also calculating. I have played a role of ballot counter before where the chief judge accidentally reverse counted the whole thing, meaning for the first place winner is 3 points, second place 2 points, third place 1 point, but the chief judge wrote it the other way around, and then we had to dispute and etc. To avoid all this, again, read the rule book, and when you go into the contest, you know what you need to do. So always make sure as the ballot counter, you are alert during the time as well. All right, thank you so much. Now we'll go to Carmen, and the question I have for Carmen is, we'll go to Hu Ying first, and the question I have for Hu Ying is, for a contest chair, how can they prepare better? What are some best practices, or what are some things that they can do in preparation of their own when they're becoming or being appointed as the contest chair? Hu Ying.
All right, thanks so much, Dinesh. I hope you guys can hear me much better now. Right, I have already shifted to my earphone. So I guess being a contest chair, ultimately you are the organizing chairperson for that contest. So what is really important is what is the best practices is always to plan ahead, right? Plan ahead, make all the necessary arrangement for the venues, for the equipment that is required as per the contest rulebook, the timing device, and anything that is audio, the microphones, and most importantly, when you have done all the planning, preparing all the equipment, is always important to do the audio and also the video check to ensure that it is all working fine prior to the contest and even on the contest day itself, to make sure that all these are in a way working so that you don't have any panic moment on the day itself. And
wherever possible, do have backup, especially for important equipment like timing device, microphones, not just have only one, but have more than that in case one perhaps ran out of battery or something happen. Anything can happen with IT equipment. So always good to have backup and make sure that all the role players are briefed on their duties. We cannot expect that everyone know what needs to be done. And as a context chair, it's really important to ensure that they are briefed, even though they have done the role countless times. But it's always good to ensure that they are briefed as a refresher and also to make sure that all the winners, because we are preparing for the contest, and to make sure that we really in a way award the winners and celebrate all the winners. So for the contest chair is a very huge responsibility before the contest, during the contest, and even after the contest. Is very important to be on your toes in terms of knowing what is happening to make sure that the contest runs smoothly.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much, Hui for that sharing. I think Hui brought up a very good point. As contest chair, it is your role to brief all the role players, except the timers, ballot counters will be briefed by the chief judge. So when it comes to briefing, make sure that you brief everybody, including the SAA, where do you place the SAAs, who's going to take care of what, the room logistics part, the signage, everything. Just make sure that it's done. And it will also be your role, if let's say you as the contest chair appointed contest Toastmasters to assist you for that specific contest, make sure again their scripts are thoroughly read through and everything is according to the rule book, and then make sure all your settings, your logistics, all of that is also sorted. So don't take the role very lightly. It is probably one of the most stressful roles in my own opinion, because you need to make sure that everything goes well, and you need to make sure you work very well with your chief judge, and then make sure that the setting, the place, everything is good. So go check out the place. If it's going to be a physical contest, you need to be very clear where you're going to be placing the timing signal. Is the timing signal going to be, distracting? Will the audience be able, will the contestants be able to see the timing signal? All of those. The more nitpicky you get, the better your contest experience will be, because you will make sure that everything end to end is going on the right track. So thank you so much for sharing that, Hui. And now we'll go into Carmen. And Carmen, this question for you is, let's talk about SAA, test speaker and photographer. What do you have to say for them?
All right, we'll start off with SAA first. Basically, SAA, your role is to make sure that the contest is on track in terms of the minimizing the distractions and also ensuring that the contest follows the rules, especially in an evaluation contest where you're break into breakout rooms. Make sure that the contestants are really, if let's say they are given 5 minutes of preparation time, then follow the 5 minutes of preparation time. One of the things that we often see in contests is that a lot of recording or a lot of unnecessary distraction is always happening. Leave the contest hall even when the contest is happening. So as the sergeant-at-arms, you have the duty, the authority to minimize any distractions that happen in the room. If you notice that someone is recording without permission, then you can go into the front and say, please stop recording, because this is only officially by the photographer. Okay. To add on with photographer and sergeant-at-arms as well, since we're talking about recording, the photographer must get consent by the contestant before recording, because I realized that a lot of in my observation in contests, that is not announced directly to the contestant. You may know that sometimes contestants might use the same speech to the next level if they win. So it is good that you get the contestants' consent first before recording, so that at least the contestants know that their speech is recorded by the official photographer. If the contestant say, please don't record my speech, or please don't take any photos of my performance, then please follow the contestant's instructions. Regarding sergeant-at-arms also, one thing I also like to highlight is in terms of using, make sure that in the breakout room, when the evaluation contest happens, what to do. So what sergeant arms can usually do is to just make sure that you collect their notes after the 5 minutes preparation, and the notes is only given to the contestant when they walk into the hall. So the 5 minutes preparation time is only provided for them to refer to their notes. And when the contestant is up next, their notes are only given back to them during the when they walk into the hall. And also, as Sergeant Arms, you can take their mobile devices before the evaluation contest. For me, if let's say the contestant say I don't have any mobile devices, then it's okay lah. Just make sure that they are only provided with the evaluation notes and also their pen and pencil when they go into the preparation room. So that's for me regarding Sergeant Arms. Now regarding test speaker, there are a few things I'd like to highlight. First question, who chooses the test speaker? If you refer to the rulebook, page 27, it says that the contest chair is the one who appoints the test speaker, sergeant at arms, and any other roles. A lot of the cases happen in contests is that the chief judge will be the one selecting. But unfortunately, if you refer to the rulebook, it's the contest chair that chooses the test speaker. And the test speaker is supposed to be anonymous. And I realize that a lot of members, I understand that you might not have enough context, okay, on who to find a test speaker. And a lot of things that I observe is that we tend to post on community groups. Hey, anyone, we are looking for test speaker for a contest. Anyone would like to volunteer? And a lot of people respond. But do remember that a test speaker is supposed to be anonymous. If best, nominate someone that text privately to that someone if you are interested in finding. If you're looking for test speakers, I mean, let's say you might not have enough contacts and you want to look out for test speakers, you can go to the division community groups or any community groups, but please text privately rather than text officially in a group chat like this. Okay? And also, the test speaker delivers the test speech must be part of the project of the pathway experience or the contest style speech. So when they deliver speeches, make sure that the contest chair must make sure that the speeches that they deliver must be from the pathways experience or a contest style speech, 5 to 7 minutes, and cannot be made known to anyone, including voting judges, audience, contestants, anyone at all. So that is the one thing that members have, contest chair must take note as well. You can deal with the test speaker directly. So that's why usually in contests, right, we don't recommend to assign silent evaluators in for the test speaker. Because if you assign a silent evaluator, means that the project speech is already reviewed. What you can do, if the member needs a silent evaluator, the contest chair themselves can become the silent evaluator lah. But that's just my 2 cents on this. Try to not have any silent evaluation when a test speaker is delivering a speech, because it will review the objectives or purpose statements of the pathway or any contest style speech. So that's my 2 cents on it. If you have any other question, maybe we can ask later. So with that, thank you. Back to you, Dinesh.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much, Carmen. I think you covered the main points very clearly and carefully as well. So again, the role of a test speaker it's appointed by the contest chair. So make sure that you appoint them anonymously. And it is recommended, if you follow the rule book, it is clearly stated that it is recommended at all level of the contest, the test speaker to not be from the same club as any of the contestants. So also please do take note of that, just to make sure that, you know, your test speaker is not from the same club with any of the contestants. Unless, even if you have a really, really hard time finding, I really hope that you're able to find someone that is not from the same club. And in Malaysia, we are quite blessed because I think you can always find clubs within your vicinity. So that should be able to give you a little bit of leeway in finding a test speaker who is going to give a speech without coming from the same club as any of the contestants. So that's very well put. Thanks, Carmen, also for sharing on the SAA. The role of the SAA for me is extremely crucial at the level for evaluation contest, because I can tell you from personal experience, there was once where I was a contestant for evaluation contest. I go up on stage and they gave me the notes that was not mine, and I literally had to wing my evaluation because it was too late for me to check and counter back because I already have the notes and I'm on stage. So for the love of God, please don't put anyone through that trauma. And if you're a contestant, learn from my mistake. Please do check and make sure that the notes you're receiving is your notes before you go up on stage as well. So, sometimes people say that, oh, essay role is very straightforward, nothing to do. I wholeheartedly disagree. Every role player in a contest plays a crucial role in making sure end-to-end the contest goes on successfully. So if you are the sergeant at arms, just make sure that you also take that into account. Before we go to the next question, we do have a question from E. Chong. I see it on the chat box, and E. Chong has asked, how to collect discreetly, especially when the audience are the contestants, role players, and club members. Any of the panelists would like to share with us about how to be discreet?
Maybe I'll share first.
Yeah.
One thing that usually I would do is if I'm the tally counter, I tend to sit very close to the voting judges. So for example, if the judges are gathered at one point, okay, then I will sit very close to them and I'll collect discreetly. Discreetly here means that you selectively reach down to grab the ballot. Okay. One thing that try to avoid is standing beside the voting judges. Give them some time to tally up the result, because as a voting judge before of many contests, it is a hassle, especially if you're judging multiple contests that has 7, 8 contestants in one go. So it will take some time. So as tally counters, try to avoid standing beside them and looking at them like this, because in a way it can indirectly reveal what is that they are voting judges. Okay? But what can we do to stay discreet is you can sit very close, ask the tally counter to sit close to the voting judges, and then when they pass you the ballot, pass it below, like under the chair, or rather that under the chair, or maybe pass to you discreetly. Another way that you can do it is, as tally counters, you can wait at the back of the hall. If the hall is too tight or there's no space for you to sit, wait at the back of the hall first. The judges may give a signal to you. They may nod their heads or give you a wink. Then you can walk towards them, sit close to them, and collect their ballot. That way also can. So it doesn't don't directly show that they are voting judges by standing close to them. So that's what I mean by discreet. Thank you. Dinesh, over to you.
All right, thanks, Carmen. Just to add on, Yi Chong, when we, especially at a club level contest, it's really not rocket science to figure out who the judges are. Honestly, it's not going to be that hard, because you look, maybe there's only minus the contestants, you look around, probably there's only 7, 8 people that you don't know, and then you can automatically probably assume, or if you want to assume, if there's enough, it's not going to be that hard for you to figure out. But what discretion here means is that you don't go out of your way to reveal who the judges are. So discretion, like what Carmen said, be very careful when you're passing the ballot. Be as discreet as possible. Though I've seen in some contests, for some reason, judges literally flag the ballot up like you're so proud to be the judge. If you're so proud to be the judge, it's also not at the contest place you get to show that off. You can show that off somewhere else, but not during the contest. So your ballot, make sure you put it in a very discreet manner, and then you pass it to the tally counter. If you're a ballot counter, and sometimes, especially in Toastmasters, when we have members from all walks of life and all walks of age, if you see a judge has not done the ballot yet, all your other judges have given this ballot, only one judge, and you see them slowly taking their time to count slowly, right? Please don't go and stand next to them, or even worse, you stand and then you rush them. You be like, faster. It's all right to take some time. If you realize the contest chair will most likely say a moment of silence. I believe TI was very considerate. That's why they don't say you need to fill in the ballot within 1 minute for the last speaker is done. They say a moment of silence. So don't have to rush. Just wait until the ballot is handed to you. Then you can leave the room with the chief judge, signaling that all ballots have been collected. So that's also something that we can learn as the best practice. So just make sure that when you're doing it, when you're doing the ballot counter roll, or in this case, a ballot counter roll, you collect it as discreet as you can. Right. We have a next question from Anne. Sorry, I think it's Anne. And the question is, can the judges be revealed after the contest? All right, maybe Hu Ying, would you like to take this up?
All right, okay. Judges in a contest will remain confidential and anonymous even after the contest. No one should know who the judges are even after the contest has ended. Yep.
I think that's a very straightforward answer. Yes, that is the one we are looking for. Judges will remain confidential, will remain anonymous. And sometimes, I realize some people are just so passionate. And then they go to a speaker and then they say, oh, you did really well. And here are some area of recommendations. It's not your role as a judge to do that. So please don't do that. Or even worse, I've seen this happen many times. You go to a contestant and you say, especially when the contestant did not win first place, you go to and say, I voted for you, but I don't know how you didn't win. Again, nobody has to know that. So please, if you're a judge, your duty is to keep it confidential. Whatever documents you use, my recommendation is to bring it back home and then discard it at your house. Don't leave it around lying around, which may cause other problems that we don't want to observe. All right. If you have any other questions, feel free to keep that coming. We have about 10 more minutes before we wrap up. The next question I have for the panelists is, what can go wrong in a contest if preparation is not done well? So today we are in this workshop trying to talk about how each role players can do their role effectively. But what are some consequences that we will face if the contest does not go well, right? Just to shed a little bit of light on that, maybe Kok Pok, would you like to go first?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. There's one time during the contest that the judges forget to sign one of the ballot. So sometimes it's awkward to go back to ask the judges to sign. There are times, it depends on the situation. When all has been collected, when you are in the chief judge room and you're counting the ballots, if that happen, what we have done in the past through the chief judge decision, we discard the judge ballot because it's not valid as the sign is not put in. So this is one of the experience I've seen before as a ballot counter through the contest. Back to you, Dinesh.
All right, thanks, Kok Pok. I think there are many things that can go wrong, especially from a judging perspective. But we're not talking much about that here today. Like I said, it's not a judging workshop. But the example that Kok Pok gave is indeed an example of where it can go wrong. So what are the consequences that can happen if the preparation doesn't go well? Number one, you might have issues during the contest. Things may not go well. Number two, it might actually jeopardize the contest, and it's going to be very unfair for the contestants. So if, let's say, for any reason, the contest has to be postponed or the contest has to not go on and give the best experience to the contestants, that is not something that we'll want to encourage. So just remember that as contestants and also as role players, you play a very crucial role to make sure that all of these things are covered and it goes according to plan. We have another question from Yi Chong. Is it a must to brief judges separately, especially for area contests? Can you give a little bit of context? What do you mean by separately here? If you want to come off mute.
So
Yi
hi,
Chong?
Dinesh. Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm just
Yeah.
okay. What I meant is that most of the time during club contests, the chief judge will call all the judges into one room and brief them. But I read it somewhere in the contest rulebook that when it comes to area contests, judge should not know who are the other judges are, meaning to say you should brief them separately.
I know that the tiebreaker judge does not attend the briefing, and the tiebreaker judge is not need. The tiebreaker judge don't have to know lah. Is that your
Yeah, the one
question?
I'm fully aware. Yeah.
Okay.
But the other judges.
I am not aware of this myself. So if you can point to me where in rulebook you
That's why
saw that.
I'm trying to look through the rulebook as well.
Okay.
I'm having it in front of me.
Yeah, I am not
But
aware
never
of
mind. It
any
could be a
statement like that.
practice. I may be mistaken, but I just want to seek maybe the advice of the panelists.
All right. Okay. Anyone has any insights to share on this?
Usually for me, I usually brief if let's say I'm the chief judge, I usually brief the judges a day or 2 days before the contest. Even let's say those are like, they know it's the judges when walking to the room. But there are sometimes that there is no separate room there, who knows? We just avoid. I used to brief the judges a day or two earlier for all the situation. So yeah, judges is best to brief separately so they will remain anonymous throughout the contest.
Yeah, correct. Thanks for that. As far as I know, Yi Chong, when you brief the judges, you brief them together. And their anonymity doesn't have to count from each other because, for example, if there is a protest and there needs to be a deliberation, they will have to come together and deliberate. So most of the times for judges, they don't have to be anonymous to each other. So yep, that is the thing. But if you find which part of the rule book says something that you're not clear of, feel free to let us know, and we can probably cover that as we go, and we can pick that up as well. Thanks for sharing that, Ichong. All right, do we have any other questions before we proceed? Anyone else has any other questions for any specific role players rule that they are looking to get some clarity on? While that is happening, I'll continue back with the question I had earlier as well. What are some consequences that can go if we don't do the preparation and everything is not done well? Maybe Carmen, would you like to give a point of view as well? What do you think? Why do you think all this preparation and everything is so important?
Like I said in the beginning of the session, that we role players, we are stakeholders to many parties. If you read the training manuals for judges, for role players, for contestants, they always mention this. As role players, we are a stakeholder to the contestants, we are stakeholders to the TI, we are also stakeholders to the audience members. And the worst came to worst that happened is you might cause the contestant to lose their eligibility because they might not be aware of the rules. I've seen some contestants being disqualified because of a technicality on the rule. Even at division or even this division level, at least it happens even that level. So as role players, we have to do due diligence on our role to make sure that the contestants have a safe and fair platform to compete on. Maybe some examples. How do you tally count? Is it the right tally count method? Is the timing signal accurate or not? Is it, let's say if you're a judge, then are you following the judging criteria? Are you following the correct procedure? Are the contestants aware that judges can raise protests if there's an originality or referencing issue? Especially the referencing issue, which we will not discuss about this because we are talking about contest role players. So as a role player, take due diligence on the role. Yeah, try to avoid any discrepancies happening in the contest. Make sure that when we finish our role, the winners that is chosen is the fair winners, is the accurate winners as possible. So that's what I feel like as a contest role player. And I think one more thing I'd like to add on is that as role players, it comes both ways, respect. Because at the end of the day, we are doing our best for the contestants to have a fair play. So for the contestant perspective also, please do show some respect to the role players. For example, if a briefing is done, please at least be attentive to the briefing, even though it's repeated over and over and over again. Because you will never know that because of a technicality, you might get disqualified because of this. So always make sure that as a contestant, also make sure that the role players have done their briefing due diligence, ask any questions about the contest, about any sort of rules or anything that can affect your performance. And also maybe show a little respect towards the role players as well. Because at the end of the day, all of us are here to serve your contest officers. So I think that's it for me. Back to you, Dinesh.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much, Carmen. I think he brought up a good point, right? We do have a big role to play to stakeholders, and we need to pick that up. But before I go further, Yi-Chong, yes, go ahead and ask a question verbally.
Okay, thanks, Dinesh. This is pertaining to what Kaman mentioned just now. For a CTM contest Toastmaster, when they do a pre-briefing, if, let's say, they forgot to mention that contestants should not mention about other contestants, it was not mentioned during the pre-briefing. And during contest, the contestant did that. As judges, you can vote to disqualify them, or because the CTM did not do a job properly, you maybe on sympathy, you said they are not disqualified. I mean, can I have some view from the panelists?
Okay, I have a very strong view, but I will let Hu Ying go first. Maybe Hu Ying, you wanna give your view?
Wow, that is such a interesting question. I think that is where in a contest, we have the contest chair. All right. So the contest chair responsibility is also to ensure that during the contestant briefing, all the important areas are being covered during the briefing. And I think this is really, really important to avoid any dispute or anything that the contestant will raise up during the contest itself. And if really that happens, and that, I mean, in my humble opinion, that doesn't in a way disqualify a contestant, because I think based on the rule book, the disqualification only happens based on originality. I mean, referencing, yes, there is, but I mean, there is no ground to say that because the contestant is not briefed, the contestant is not aware, because the contestant also needs to go through the whole contest rule book as well. So it's really important that the contestants are fully aware, and they also need to be made aware what are the important rules during the briefing. And during the briefing, as much as possible, contest chair as well as the contest Toastmasters need to be there together, so that if there's any missing areas, then the contest chair will be able to step in and also to support during the briefing.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Hu Ying. I think to answer your question, Mi Chong, essentially, if a situation like that happens and let's say the judges raise a protest, the protest will be valid because like what Hu Ying said, as a contestant, it is also your responsibility to know the rule book and to know what the rules are. So if you do not abide by that, then you should be held accountable. When you're signing the eligibility form as a contestant also, I think there is certainly clear to make sure that you are reading the rule book, you know what you're signing up for and what will cause disqualification if it does. Similarly, for example, let's say the contest chair did not brief the contestant about the timing for some reason, and then the contestant goes over time. Can the contestant say, oh, sorry, I was not briefed? That is not what it is. So again, you need to make sure that during the rule book, everything that is in the rule book as a contestant, you are aware and you know what you're getting yourself into as well. So for example, Peng Yu just said, if it's a briefing, not a study of rule book correctly, it will be impossible for the chief judge to brief everything in the rule book in that 30 minutes, or sometimes some clubs are even more stingy. They give you 15 minutes of time. I don't know what they're rushing for, but it's impossible to do all that in the 15 minutes or 30 minutes that is given. So just make sure that they are aware of the rules. Okay, now the last question that I will take up is, I'll take it from Susan on contest chair, insisting to know the names of judges, especially when it's a corporate club and token of appreciation have to be audited and to be taken into account. All right, interesting question. Maybe any of the panelists would like to take up this question?
I have experience in this before. I was the chief judge for the contest, and the company does insist in where I still didn't reveal. I just mentioned to them, all will be given to me, all put into my name. I will pass it all to the judges. So in the end, it's up to the company to decide to allow it or not. If they don't allow, I can't do anything. It's just that I will just remain my judges anonymous all the way. Back to you, Dinesh.
All right, I think that is a very clear example. If the corporate club for some reason needs to audit and etc., really just what I will also do is to just say, put it under my name. My identity is not anonymous clearly, but as for the judges go, it is not. It is anonymous. Now, a similar question, a similar dilemma to this is, especially when it comes to, let's say, for corporate clubs where there's tight security, right? And you need everybody to register in advance. Again, when they're registering, there should be an option that just says role players. That's what I always suggest. You don't specify what exact role you're playing. Again, it's also very important to know the intention, right? The intention is to keep the judges anonymous from the contestant and from the contest. So for administrative matters like this, I would say practice your judgment so long it does not impact the contest. you have to make sure that you do the right thing. So for example, if you need registration, I'll ask the judges to register, but just register as a role player. So no one is specifically, it's nowhere it's recorded that you are a judge and etc. All right, I think those were the questions that we had. If you have any other questions, feel free to, yes, Peng Yu, you have your hands raised, you can go up.
Yeah, I actually want to add on to Yi's question about the anonymity of the judges from each other. I believe what Yi meant was the communication, email and WhatsApp. Yi, is that what you meant?
Yes, Penya, everything else included lah, because what I normally do is that when it's at area level, I will try my best to brief them individually. And then on the contest day,
Okay.
even the ballot form also, I will give it to them individually. I will try my best not to know that A and B or C are judges in that sense.
Yeah, intention is good. In terms of practicality, I think the judges are briefed together. Maybe let me share with you what I observe at the international level, how they do it. Now, in international level, if you play the roles, whatever role you play, TI will just send you an email to you only. You don't copy the whole all the other role players. I think Hui Ying has been there before, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
correct. You are
Do you
right.
see the whole list of all the other role players in your email? No, right?
No,
It's only
no, I
you
don't.
alone. You do not know who the rest are. So I believe there is a good practice. You know why? Because sometimes your mail may be accidentally forwarded or somebody snooping over your shoulders, then they may see the entire list. So that's why it's always safe, always the best practice to, if you use email, use BCC to all your judges so that one judge cannot see other judges. Similar for WhatsApp. Do not create a WhatsApp group because WhatsApp group can
I
easily
agree.
screen captured and forwarded.
Yeah.
Just use a broadcast group. Broadcast group, you only see your name there and the chief judge, you cannot see other team members. So this is a best practice. And back to Yi's case, if you follow the rule book, I believe that the briefing is done together. I mean, the rule book doesn't specifically say they have to be in the same room, but generally, all the judges are briefed at the same time. The reason is because they may ask questions during the briefing, and all the other judges need to be aware of those questions. I hope I answered your question, Yi.
Yeah, thanks a lot. At least I gained something from here on certain things that I may have missed out, but I did follow exactly what you said. No WhatsApp group, send out email differently in that sense. Right,
But
thank
the
you so
briefing
much.
done together, that is the important one because the people may ask questions which may be relevant to other judges as well.
Okay, all right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, another reason why I say briefing can be done together is there could be situations where judges will need to deliberate. So it's fine to not keep the anonymity among each other, for example. So I think that's, and also it's easier for the ballot counters to know who the judges are. If you brief the judges separately, then you cannot go and tell the ballot counter, 1, 2, 3, good luck. It will probably be chaotic. So but if you brief everyone together and then you assign to the ballot counters, you collect from these people, you collect from that people, it's way more easier for you to manage. All right, we are running behind time. So ladies and gentlemen, as the norm of any virtual meeting, we'll take a group picture to commemorate this. And I hope sincerely that you were able to get something out of the session. We wanted to do this session to brief everybody and get everyone to know about some of the roles that you are going to be playing and how you can do your best. Again, it was not a judging workshop, though some questions were leaning towards that. But there will be, I believe the district is also doing judging workshops and etc. They'll be coming your way. So do make sure that you keep up with all the communication that's happening so you know what to expect when the time comes. And if you're interested, the judging workshop will always be an interesting one to hear more horror stories and more best practices. So please do go and check that out as well.